folks, it is now time for us to talk about the DX invasion that happened in 1998. Probably the turning point for the WWF to take back over WCW in the ratings. Wouldn't y'all think that, Jack? Wouldn't you think that was what was the turning point?
Yeah, I think that was one of the pivotal points.
On the episodes, what would happen, and for those of you who don't know, but I'm pretty sure everybody does know about this. On episodes of Raw is War in April and May, DX went to war with WCW, with whom the WWF was in direct competition with at the time through a series of legitimate visits to the WCW headquarters and live events. On April 27th, 1998, Raw is War and Nitro both took place in the Hampton Roads area of Virginia. A mere 19 miles apart, the Generation X, which would have been Triple H, X-Pac, Road Dogg, Billy Gunn, and Chyna, traveled from the WWF show in Hampton to the Scope in Norfolk, shouted insults and stuff toward the building. Before they went to the arena, they did this little skit that I think we have to give credit. Portions of this have to be given to Vince Russo because I think he wrote portions of this. But they're standing in front of the building, and this is a hilarious part of the show. Did some great little comedy stuff in this, but it was done so well. Rodney, have you seen this?
Yes, I have. Is that the one that had the megaphone? They're saying, was it Eric, let our people go, or something to that degree?
Yep.
Yeah. This was they broke it down in actual segments, and this was the first segment, and they were saying what they were going to do, and they were saying we're going to go there, and we're going to, and always when they say WCW, they made a like a country accent on it, but they actually got into this what they called for years, they got in a tank, which it was just a Jeep, but they were all saying this was a tank. But here's a photograph of where they were actually outside the building, and the first thing they asked was, "Does Eric Bischoff suck?" And the people were yelling, "Yay, yay!" But they did try to ask this question: "Does WCW suck?" And the people would not respond to it. Did y'all notice that in this?
Yeah, the WCW.
They were there during that day. Now, Kevin Nash said he drove by this and he thought it was just a bunch of wrestling fans or something out there that was doing it. He didn't notice it was them. They asked Eric Bischoff what he was doing. He said he was doing a promo in the ring at this time. The guy, and I can't remember his name, that does the interview, does 83 weeks with him, says, "Now, how was you doing a promo? This was in the afternoon. You don't do the show till the nighttime. So how was you doing a promo?" But this thing right here, what got me is eventually they go to the actual front of the building, and they ask people if they have any of those free tickets that they give out. And then yell, "Let our people go," and stuff. Just great stuff. But I'll tell you what I thought. Did the actual people that was like tearing the tickets and the door guards, boy, they looked like they were scared the whole time. Like the old man.
Sure, you never know what's going to happen. But it's funny now. They were not inside the arena, right? Or were they?
No, they were just standing outside.
That would have caused them to be. They could have easily have had the handcuffs slapped on them and taken off for trespassing, so you wouldn't went inside the building.
Well, they said now Vince Russo has told people that he come up with this whole thing. The truth is, no, he was not the one that come up with it. At least that's what Bruce Pritchard has said. He said they were sitting together thinking about doing this invasion thing. And they asked him, they said, "Listen, what should we do about this? What would we do? And Bruce said, well, back in the territory days, you know, the wrestlers would go buy a ticket. One of the meanest wrestlers would buy a ticket and sit ringside and kind of scare them the whole night. So that's where they got the idea to go over to WCW. Now, they knew they couldn't go inside the building. Now, they knew that. They could not go inside the building. But they said that the part where they're going down the railing and they closed that door going down that little ramp, that was just ad-libbed by Road Dogg. He said, hey, that thing's open. Let's go down through there. And they did that just an ad-lib. They wasn't going to do it. It wasn't talked about. They said it was open, so they went. Good stuff. Good stuff. And they did close the door, and they were sitting there knocking on it, going, "Woo! Anybody in there? We only want to talk to you." Good stuff. I wonder what they would have done if they'd opened up the doors. Would they have tried to go in anyway?
Well, yeah, they probably would have.
On May 4th, 1988, they also attempted to forcibly secure their way into the studio, the offices, which was in Smyrna, not the ones at the CNN Center, but in Smyrna. And here they are getting out of the Jeep because in the front of it, it said no trespassing on it. And they got out of the thing, read the thing, and said, I don't know what that says. Is that not in English or something? Because I can't read that, and they go on in anyway. They said that the people at the studio called and said there were people with a bunch of guns and a tank. They're going to, and so they brought the whole Smyrna Police Department came out there. They didn't show any of that, I noticed, but it was good stuff in front of there. That the guy that was the security guard, I thought he. Jax, you see that? I thought he worked very well during this. It was really good. But then they go to the CNN Center as well. Now, let's right here's where they're sitting talking to the security guard, and he is keeping his cool the whole time. And but they kind of know. Road Dogg says, "Oh man, I bet they're calling the cops on us. I bet the cops going to be there soon." By the way, with them during this whole thing was Bruce Pritchard. He was with them the whole time. Eric Bischoff said he believed that none of this would have worked as well if it wasn't for Sean Waltman as part of this. Y'all think that was true?
I don't know. I mean, he certainly added to it.
Well, see, he had just fired him.
Yeah.
He had just fired him because he was going through a contract and they agreed to something. And then Sean got with some major attorney and he didn't want to take that deal. So Eric said, well, don't take any deal, then you're fired. And so he comes on television, does that great interview and tells all kinds of bad things about Eric Bischoff. So did that work because it really seemed again as a real problem?
Yeah, I mean that added the legitimacy to it, but the DX as a whole is what made it work. You know, I mean, what X-Pac had going on, you know, that certainly it added to it, but you know, it took the whole group to make it work. It would have meant nothing for X-Pac to have shown up by himself.
True.
You know, you had to have that whole group to make that work.
Well, Raw on April 27th had a 5.5 rating. Now, I will tell you that Nitro wasn't on that night. It only came on at midnight, so they were unopposed. But the next week, they were head-to-head again. Nitro 4.2, Raw 4.7. So they were on their way to the thing. By the way, WCW sues WWF for $2 million because of them coming to the place and trying to use their intellectual property as they were trying to do that. But you know, great stuff. Here's something they also said about
even today, that's still relevant today.
But it was probably one of the best things that they had done, and I think it changed the scope of what they were doing. Plus, WCW's storylines were just getting worse and worse by the week. Don't y'all agree?
Yeah.
Yep. We will talk more about a lot of the stuff that went on in the WWF. We'll talk about Bret Hart and going from WCW to WWF. There's so much stuff we're going to talk about because there's so much. They gave us so much ammunition at that point in time back in those days to talk about. So we'll talk about that on some few future episodes. If you're watching this right now on Facebook, share and like the page. And if you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, give us that big thumbs up, and go one step further and hit that notification bell.